So I am pressing record. So we are recording now, and we'll get started. So hi, I'm Amber Finch of Finch Real Estate Company, and I am joined here with a good friend of mine and longtime insurance agent of mine. I think over the last 8 years, I think I've been a customer, somewhere around there, 7 or 8 years. And John Canonico is with Brightway Insurance, and his office is located in Oviedo, Winter Springs area, but he does service all of Florida, but he gets a lot of different quotes and stuff like that for different things. So John, if you'll get in a little bit about how you got started in the insurance business and a little bit about your current operation.
Sure. Well, first off, thanks. Looking forward to this. Back in 2007, Valerie and my family, we moved to Florida, and that's when I was a REO foreclosure contractor. And that's how I met most of the realtors who I know. I believe that's how we came into contact, because I used to maintain all the foreclosed properties for the banks. In 2011, we saw that whole cycle changing, and we just figured it was time for us to find something else to do. And having a lot of friends in the insurance industry, it just ended up that they directed us that way. And we've been very blessed to be here in Oviedo, Winter Springs for close to 8 years now.
Awesome. And how big is your staff?
We currently have 6 people in our office. They're all home now. I'm kind of here by myself, but we got a great staff, and they do a great job.
Very cool. So tell me what, I know insurance agencies can do multiple things. So do you sell health insurance, life insurance, any of that others?
We do everything except health insurance and permanent life insurance, something that someone would use in more of an estate planning type situation. We really focus on home, auto, personal lines. We can do commercial. We do quite a bit of commercial, from the handyman landscaper to large companies with hundreds of employees. So we're very, because of the size of Brightway, we have more carriers than any other agency in the state of Florida. I think last count, we were somewhere about 115 carriers. Yeah.
That's good, because then people have more options.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I know there's some unique properties out there that need some unique insurance. So
I just had one call up today with an older roof and polybutylene plumbing, and we'll be able to get them coverage, but we also recommended to them to look at getting the plumbing replaced, so this way they don't have to deal with walking in water in the middle of the night.
Yeah, scary. Just for those of you that don't know, polybutylene plumbing, if you're a client of mine that's purchased a home with me, you probably are aware of what it is. But polybutylene plumbing is a type of plastic plumbing. It's usually gray pipes for the most part. And it was installed in the late 80s to mid 90s. And it's known to fail. And so insurance companies really frown upon polybutylene plumbing. There's probably hundreds of thousands of homes that exist today that still have them, but they are still risky. And so a lot of people are repiping their homes to replace them with something different that the insurance companies will like better. So that's what he's talking about when he's saying polybutylene plumbing. But so what could you tell me is maybe the favorite parts of your job on a day-to-day basis?
The favorite part?
Yeah.
I really enjoy, I kind of have a bit of a teacher in me. I really enjoy educating our clients and friends on what the coverages are, what the policy is about, why they need certain coverages, what protections it provides them. Too many of us, we don't understand an insurance policy, and in order to not want to look like we don't know anything, we'll just nod, yeah, okay, yeah, I understand it, when we really have no clue what is in a policy and what it covers and what it protects. So we really enjoy, especially with first-time home buyers, being being sort of a teacher, showing them and explaining what the coverage means, why you have the coverage, why is it important. And when the light comes on and it's like that, aha, now I understand, that is the best client in the world to have, because now they understand why they're purchasing what they're getting. And they're an educated consumer. And that's our best customer, because then they appreciate what the coverage is for and what the policy does for them. So it's the informing, educating, being a resource to clients, to realtors, to the industry, which is really enjoyable.
I know that you've taught me a few things. I've always said that insurance is a foreign language to me. I get people that call me all the time, and now I feel like I know a little bit more because you've taught me some things by looking at my own policy and stuff. So I appreciate that, John. But I still don't know everything, and I still tell them to call you. So when we're talking about this and you want to educate them, I think it's important, like you said, that they should be paying attention to specific things on their policies. So could you give us some highlights of really, I mean, I know they should be paying attention to everything, but what are the main points that really people should be paying attention to rather than just the premium cost?
Well, coverages are important. I mean, that's why we buy a policy, for the coverages that the policy provides. And when someone gets their policy, the policy could be 70, 80 pages. No one's going to read through the 70, 80 pages. But there's a 3 to 4 page part of it, which is called the declarations page. And the declarations page lists all the coverages, lists all the exclusions, and even in one spot has some really large font, which is really important for people to read. That is why the state requires, and any policy you look at, those parts of the policy will be in very, very large font, because the state is trying to protect the consumer. They want them to say, hey, this is really big. Maybe I need to read it. Most people don't read it. And that's the challenge, because those parts of the policy are really important. One of them talks about ordinance and law coverage. And most people have no clue what ordinance and law coverage is, but it's one of those real large fonts. And the reason is, if, say you had a kitchen fire in your home and it damaged your home, the insurance company is going to step in and say, well, you know what? We are going to repair the damage. The building department's going to come in and say, well, wait a second. It's great that you're going to repair the damage, but this home was built in 1972. So the electrical is not up to code. The plumbing is not up to code. You now need to bring it up to current code and repair the damage. Well, ordinance and law brings the home up to current ordinances, and that is the extra money that is in a policy that most people don't even know it's there. And it comes in 3 flavors, 10%, 25%, and 50%. So if you have a newer home, you're not going to need as much. But if you have an older home, you're going to need 50%. And it doesn't cost that much, but so many times as we come across other policies, as we're working with clients, we find that that's been excluded and left out of the policy, because there's so many people that will just try to give a cheap price, hoping that they never get caught not providing the right coverage.
Yeah, so that's important if they're really wanting insurance to work the way that it's designed to work. I know some people just want or just get insurance because they need it, because they're getting, mortgage. But I think those are the people that are also super upset when they have a claim to be made and they don't get to full coverage like they thought they would, like you're saying, to bring it up to current code and things like that. So is that the portion of the policy that you wanted to show us that was in the big?
Oh yeah, let me. I could pull it up here and just show you what it looks like. So this is my old policy deck page, and it has the information for the people, has deductibles, has the coverage amounts, but then it also shows animal liability is excluded, trampoline liability is excluded. So it goes through and lists what is covered and what is not covered. So that's why it's important to see this kind of stuff. But then when you get down to this page, you could see how large the font is because they're telling ordinance and law coverage is important. It also talks about the hurricane deductible. So the carriers are required to do this by the state. So if you don't read anything else, at least read your deck page so that you can see exactly what is in your policy. And then if you don't understand it, call your agent. Yeah. That's what an insurance agent is supposed to do. Not just sell a policy, but be there to advise on what the coverages are for.
And that's a plus side of having a local small business agent rather than going to one of the big insurance.com websites type of things, is because maybe those aren't readily available or easy to ask questions. Where I found it really easy to ask questions to you because you're just, you know, a local guy that's around the corner from me. I can go and walk in and be like, I don't understand. What is this?
I get people stopping me all the time on the street and Publix, wherever, asking me questions. And that's great. I love the questions.
Yeah, good. All right. So if someone was to have an insurance claim, I know, I think the last house that I owned, I had called you. I had a little bit of a, something going on with my house. I can't even remember what it was. And you told me what to do. So tell I guess what is the suggestions is if somebody thinks they might have a homeowner's insurance claim, but isn't sure, what should they be doing instead of calling their insurance company immediately?
Well, here's what happens. If you call up your insurance carrier, say you had a pipe leak on your dishwasher and you had a little puddle of water sitting on the floor and it really didn't do any damage, but you wanted to know what would happen. If you call up the insurance carrier, you have just opened a claim. Even if they don't do anything, you have opened a claim. So what you want to do is you want to work with a trusted local contractor, a plumber, an electrician, a mitigation company, such as ServPro or Rytech, great companies. You want to work with the local companies that are going to give you good advice, who will come in and say, well, Amber, you know, you probably have maybe $1,100 worth of work to do here, $1,100 worth of damage. Do you know what your deductible is? Well, yeah, my deductible is $1,000. Well, that's when you make the determination, do you want to file a claim for $100? You know, if the contractor comes in and says, this is going to be several $1,000s, then yeah, call up your agent, call up your carrier, and go ahead and get it started, get the claim started, because that's what you have insurance for. But too often we see people that they file a claim and it only pays out $900, so it didn't meet their deductible, but now they have a water claim. And then they have another claim. And water claims are kind of like the really bad claims on an insurance policy. A hurricane claim, that's an act of God. That's catastrophic. A storm claim, then that doesn't count against somebody. But if someone files multiple water claims, they become uninsurable. And a lot of times nothing has ever even been paid on those claims.
So I think that something to explain is that I know there's a difference between auto and homeowners insurance in the means of how it impacts someone when they make a claim. So can you tell us how homeowners insurance is a little bit different than we got into a car accident and now my insurance policy went up? So how is it different?
Yeah, with auto insurance, if you get an accident, if you get a ticket, your policy, your individual policy is impacted by that. With homeowners insurance, carriers cannot just arbitrarily increase your premium because you had a claim. They can non-renew you if you have excessive claims. We see that happen quite often, but they cannot just raise your premium. A lot of people are seeing premiums are going up here in the Central Florida area. A lot of that has to do with Matthew, Michael, Irma, the hailstorms from 2015, 2016. Insurance carriers from 2005 to 2015, 16 really had no claims. You know, after we had the hurricanes from 2004, 2005, things were pretty quiet. So we saw insurance premiums continually to go down. But then we started having the hailstorms, the roofs being replaced, and everything else going on. So now premiums are going up. And people are calling us saying, I didn't file a claim. Why is my premium going up? And that is because they have to raise an entire group. They cannot just pick on one person. So they have to increase the premium for a zip code. They have to increase the premium for a county for homes over a certain age. And what most people don't realize is insurance carriers cannot just wake up one day and say, hey, you know what? Let's raise insurance premiums. They actually have to file with the state of Florida and get the state's approval and justify why they need to increase the premiums. And that's a 6-month process. So the premiums that we're seeing go up now were filed 6 months ago with the state and had to be approved.
I had no idea that they had to go through the state, so that's very interesting. So I know
you can actually go to the state insurance website and look to see which carriers are filing for rate increases.
Okay, that's very interesting. So if someone is getting, while we're on the topic of premium increases, if somebody is getting a notice in the mail that their premium is increasing, which, like you said, most people in Central Florida are, what should they do from that point?
Well, there's a couple of things. We've seen premiums. We have premiums that are going up between 25 to 125%. I mean, we've seen people with $900 premiums going up to $2,800, almost tripling. So the first thing you want to do is reach out to your insurance agent, because a lot of times we as agents don't find out about these increases unless someone lets us know, because when you have thousands and thousands of clients, it's not like we go look at everybody's policy every time it comes up. So first thing you do is reach out to your insurance agent. Ask them, is there a better option for me? And then what he's going to take a look at, he or she will take a look at, is how old is your roof? Have you had any claims? Have you had any updates to the home? Because it may not be the best idea for you to move, because there may not be a better option than where you currently are. I mean, I know we don't like to hear that, but sometimes if everybody is increasing, the one you're with may not have increased as much. True. And we're having to explain that to a lot of clients.
So you were talking about updates and things like that. So what are some things people could be doing to help reduce their policies right now? If they have money to invest into their home, how should they be, spending it wisely?
Well, the first thing that lowers a premium is a newer roof. Insurance carriers right now a lot of them are stopping at 10 years. So if your roof is over 10 years old, they will not write you a new policy, which is why a lot of people need to stay where they're at, because a lot of people have roofs that were replaced in the 2005 time frame. So if you're budgeting and saving for a new roof, that's great, because that can lower premiums by hundreds and hundreds of dollars. The next thing is, if you do have the type of plumbing that insurance carriers don't want, being able to get that replaced so that you have more options for carriers. See, the thing that causes premiums to be higher a lot of times is having less options. And the carriers that accept the riskier risks know that they're one of the few that will do it, so they will charge more because they're taking on more risk. Okay. Alarm systems, a monitored alarm system helps lower insurance premiums. And there are carriers now. I just put one of these devices on my house, and it is incredible. It is called Flow, F-L-O, by Moen. And no, I don't sell it. I don't make any money on it, but it is incredible. And what it does is it monitors your water flow. So if you're away from the home and there's water flowing, it'll send you a phone call and a text message and ask you, are you using water? If not, press this to shut it off. So what it does is carriers are giving discounts on policies because that is limiting water damage. So instead of your entire home filling with water, this senses that the water is running when it shouldn't be, shuts it down, and minimizes the damage. It costs like $399.
Wow. And
Yeah.
so, I don't know if you just said that or not, but how much are you seeing them reduce your policy by having that?
It depends upon the carrier. It depends upon, it's a percentage of the policy. A brand new home has a $700-800 premium. An older home has a $1,700 premium. So it's not going to go down hundreds of dollars on a new home, but it may save $50, $60, $70. But the other thing it's also doing is it's not just the money it saves. Talk to someone that's had a really bad water claim, whose furniture, whose belongings, whose walls all got damaged, who had to move out of the house. So it's the inconvenience that you also want to prevent.
I'm wondering though, if this could be a way to, and I'm not saying that it is, so nobody take my advice on it, but if this might be a way to, in the future, to mitigate polybutylene stuff. So if people are worried about water damage and stuff, or from, failed plumbing in general, if the insurance companies buy into this device actually working the way that it's supposed to, I wonder if they would, not offer as high of premiums for the type of plumbing that they don't like and stuff. I don't know. Just brainstorming. That is a really cool device. So.
And there's other manufacturers that make it. That's just the one that I got on my home.
Yeah. That's cool. So when we're talking about this, I know people sometimes don't know what they have in their home. And when they purchase their home and their initial insurance policy, if they were required back then to have a 4-point inspection, they might know what they currently have in their house. Can you tell us what the 4-point inspection is and what the requirements are, or what you're seeing from insurance carriers these days of requiring them? I know it used to be if the home was more than 20 years old, they would want it, but what are you seeing now?
Most carriers still will require one when a home reaches 25 to 30 years old. Newer homes don't need a 4-point. But what a 4-point inspection does, it covers the 4 major components that the insurance carrier is concerned with. The roof, the age of the roof and the condition of it. The plumbing, the type of plumbing, the age of the plumbing, has there been any updates? The electrical, they take a look at the electrical panel, because there are several panels in older homes which are not acceptable because the breakers don't strip, and that could lead to a fire. It also looks at the type of wiring. Is it copper wiring? Older homes actually used to have aluminum wiring. So it looks at that. And the last thing is the HVAC, the air conditioning system. Those are the 4 major components that they need to know when it was updated and what updates were done. Most people wonder why air conditioning has to do with it. And the reason is because we're in Florida and it's so humid, a properly functioning air conditioning system prevents mold growth.
Okay.
And that is why insurance carriers require a updated system.
I always thought that maybe in a way it was could possibly be like a mechanical fire or something like that. I don't know. I just assumed. See, you shouldn't always assume. All right. And so another report that people get asked about all the time when they're going to get an insurance policy or renew a policy is a wind mitigation report. What is that, and why would someone need one?
A wind mitigation inspection is another inspection that is done by the home inspector, and it looks at a couple of different components for the roof. It looks to see when the roof was replaced. If it was replaced after a certain year, then it gets what's called FBC, Florida Building Code compliant. And that's the type of shingles. And a lot of this came out of Hurricane Andrew from way back when, and all the roofs that got torn off back then. So if it's FBC compliant, it gets a credit. The next thing they look at is, how is the plywood decking attached to the trusses? And it used to be they'd use a smaller nail and space it further apart. Well, the new code requires them to use a larger nail, a 2.5-inch nail, and have it on 6-inch centers. So the bigger the nail, the tighter they are, the bigger the credit you receive. And then the next one is, how are the trusses attached to the exterior wall of the home? If you have a frame home, it's usually going to have a clip. If you have a concrete block home, it's going to have straps which are embedded in the upper beam, which wrap over the truss and then have nails in them. So there's nailing requirement for that, but the home inspector knows how to determine that. Then they also look to see whether or not you have any opening protection, windows, doors, garages. The thing to remember is, if you're going to get something that's hurricane proof, the entire house, every opening needs to be hurricane proof. So that means garages, skylights, doors, everything has to be. You can't just get all your windows done and then think that's going to give you a hurricane discount.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense, because I know people that do one and not the other, and then they're wondering why they don't get that credit.
And
So,
homes that were built after 2006 usually get the credits applied automatically for the structural, the clips or the single wraps. It's the age of the roof and how the deck was attached that gives a bigger credit.
gotcha. So what typically are you seeing the cost of those wind mitigation inspections? And then how much on average are you seeing that someone might save? I know it varies depending on what they have, but does it usually pay off?
A wind mitigation inspection will usually pay for itself the first year.
Wow.
Being that we've been doing this a while, I used to be a home inspector. I used to be in construction and do roofing. I could pretty much look at a home and take a pretty good guess on what credits it would have. So this way we can show the client, if you got a wind mitigation inspection, this is what you should receive as a discount. So that we can show them what kind of credit they would get before they make that decision to do it. But in most instances, it saves more than what it costs. And they usually cost anywhere, depending upon what part of town you're in, anywhere between about $95 to about $125. A lot of it depends upon the size of the house, how hard it is to access the attic. So there's certain things that determine that.
Cool. I think that's really helpful for a lot of people to know when they're being asked for those things. Now they know why and how it can help them. Now, as far as I know, wind mitigation is not usually a requirement, but in terms of 4-point, it can possibly be a requirement, correct?
The 4-point could be a requirement. Wind mitigation is not a requirement. But back to the deck page I was showing you earlier, right on the bottom of that, it talks about how if you had a wind mitigation, you could get these kind of discounts on your policy. And that's required to be on there. So they're trying to help you save money. We just don't read it, so we don't do it. My wind mitigation inspection on my house, my previous house, saved me $700 a year in premium.
Wow. That's awesome. And it cost you maybe $100, $150 at the most, probably.
Right.
Yeah. Nice. And that's per year, right? So
yes, it pays. I mean, you don't pay for the inspection every year, but you get the discount every year.
I think the wind mitigation reports are usually good for 5 years, unless you do some type of update, right?
Actually, we're still using the 2012 form.
Oh.
So we're still good with that one. It's only if they change building code, if they change codes, that the form will change. And that's right around when it changed, right around that time. So the current form is still good.
Okay, so if I had a wind mitigation done on a house in 2013, it could still good. It's still good. Now, are those usually transferable? Like if I sell a house and I want to pass that along to a buyer, is it normally transferable or?
Not normally. I mean, on occasion we'll get carriers that will accept a previous, but they usually want to see the name of the homeowner.
Okay.
On the inspection.
But it's still good information as a seller's point of view if they do have clips or straps or something and they want to share that with a
Right.
potential buyer, it's a good selling point to be like, hey, look, you're going to get some discounts because we did, and here's our report that we used. So it's kind of a good selling point. All right, so how often should someone be in contact with you if you were their agent, or how often should they be in contact with their own insurance agent about their homeowner stuff?
Well, the biggest thing is you don't need to talk to us every month. You don't need to talk to us every year unless something has changed, unless something has happened. Um, if you've made an upgrade to your home, if you've say you go in and renovate the entire kitchen, well, if your replacement cost was 200,000 and you just put 15, 20,000 into new cabinets and flooring and appliances, then you need to increase the replacement cost, because if something were to happen, you want to make sure you get it back the way it was. So that's important. This just happened the other day. We had a client and his premium increased. So we reached out to him and said, we'd love to take care of this for you. Upon looking, he had his roof replaced. About 2 years ago, he had his roof replaced. So when I went into the carrier and applied the new roof credit, it lowered his premium $450.
Wow.
And that's not something that happens automatically. So if we don't know about it, we can't help clients. You know, you have to tell your agent. You need to let your agent know, hey, I just had a new roof put on. How could this impact my premium? And then depending upon the age of your home, then the agent may recommend, well, now you have a 1991 home with a new roof and we have no wind mit on file. Go get a wind mitigation inspection, because now not only will it save you for the new premium, now we can apply those other credits and lower your premium by maybe $600-700.
That would be nice.
It's always nice.
Yeah. So what I hear you say is that they should contact you about any updates they're doing to their house. And we can recap what we were talking about earlier, is that if they think that they have an insurance claim, instead of calling you or the insurance carrier immediately, they should call an expert and get an estimate on what it might be first before initially making the claim.
Well, you can call your agent. I tell clients to call all the time, and they'll call up and they say, hey, if I had a claim,
Yeah.
if this was to happen, and I just had a client the other day. He called me up. He said, I think I may have an issue. And I said, well, here's what you need to do. You have $1,000 deductible. Here's the names of a couple of companies, professional companies. Have them come out and take a look at it. He called me up about an hour later. He says, I have a few $1,000s worth of damage. I need to file a claim. I said, fantastic. I'm sorry you have a claim, but it's good that you know that what you're getting into. Let me connect you with your insurance carrier.
Yeah.
And get it taken care of. And that's what it's about. You have insurance to take care of those things.
Yeah. But I think some people don't know what's covered and what's not. And I think there's some contractors out there, unfortunately, that will take advantage of trying to get insurance money. And so it's good that they have, a great person to lean on. Hopefully they either have you or someone else that they trust to give good advice. Because I think you've shared a story with me in the past that, somebody tried to make an insurance claim because their garage door opener broke. And, it's a couple $100 expense when now they're trying to make a claim on it. And that's not something that homeowners insurance normally covers.
No.
Right? They might be thinking it's a home warranty, which is
Right.
a totally different thing than homeowners insurance. But yeah, so I think it's good that they have you as a
Home insurance does not take care of maintenance of the home. The homeowner is supposed to maintain the home. Home insurance is to repair damage to the home. We had a client, she called us up and she had a mitigation company at her home because the plumber had told her she had a leak underneath her sink. They came in, they put dehumidifiers, they put air movers, they put all this equipment in the house, and they told her it would probably be, she needed to contact her insurance company, it would probably be about $7,000 to $8,000 by the time it was all said and done. We sent over one of the reputable companies who we work with, who carriers work with. He went in there. The lady told the other company to get out, and he went to the woman, the client who owned the house, and said, "Have they showed you the damage?" She said, "No, I didn't see anything." He said, "Ma'am, can I show you?" Underneath the bathroom sink, there was a stain this big on the drywall. It
Wow.
cost $300 to properly remediate it instead of several $1,000s. Those are the people that are causing all of our premiums to go up, because they're looking at you, the insured, as a meal ticket, as a blank check, because you're not paying it, your insurance carrier will pay it. And that is what is causing, premiums to escalate as quickly as they are here in Central Florida.
Wow. I mean, that's just unfortunately really sad. I can't believe that there are people out there that would do something like that. It just it infuriates me. And I can't believe that there's people out there that will, buy into it. But I know that there is. I mean, it's a simple thing. You're in a panic mode. You think that you have a big deal, and they make it into a bigger deal than it actually is. So that's unfortunate. One last thing, since we're on that topic, is I hear all the time about assignment of benefits, the AOB form stuff. I know a lot of roofing contractors, when there's hailstorms and hurricane, they initially throw that in front of the clients, their customers. What is your opinion about them, and what should someone do if they're given
Assignment of benefit forms were originally, what they were originally intended for was fantastic. It was so that you can work with the insurance carrier could work with the contractor, and the client would not have to come out of pocket with anything. So they would work directly with them. But what ended up happening was you had contractors who were replacing a $12,000 roof and billing $18,000, $20,000, $22,000. And because they had an assignment of benefits, that means when you sign an assignment of benefits, you sign over your legal rights to your insurance policy. So what happens is, when you had signed an assignment of benefits, it's a tongue twister. When you sign one of those, and the carrier replaces, the company replaces a $12,000 roof and gets $18,000, who keeps the extra $6,000? Does it come to you? No. It goes all to them. So in July, they actually changed the law in Florida to where they can still do assignment of benefits, but there's certain hoops they have to jump through. There's certain requirements they need to meet. So now what we're seeing is, we're not seeing assignment of benefits on the contract.
Oh, good.
It's now called direct payment agreement. And they're having people sign a direct payment agreement, which means they agree to allow them to directly bill the insurance carrier and receive the payment from the insurance carrier. So they're trying to find loopholes and ways around it, because their gravy train is getting derailed. And it is the Citizens Insurance, the state insurance pool, once the AOB change came in July, came out and said, if this works, this will single-handedly help to lower insurance premiums.
Yeah. I mean, I can attest to that. I had a closing for a house get held up because the seller, I was representing the seller, they needed to replace the roof, and they started the insurance claim before we even listed the home for sale. And they assigned their benefits over to their contractor, their roofing contractor. And throughout this process, which was maybe a couple months, right? We finally get to closing day. We can't close because the insurance claim was not closed yet, because the contractor wouldn't sign off on the lien release because they hadn't been paid, because they were fighting for how much they were owed from the so it initially went from like a roof cost of like $12,000 to, they kept adding. I think they ended up fighting for like $33,000 in the end of it. I mean, it did include a screen enclosure and everything too, but that wasn't part of the initial claim. So it was just, the contractor just kept adding on stuff. And so we had a mess. You know, the buyers didn't have a place to live. The sellers moved out of the state. And, you know, we had to do with what we had to do while we were waiting for the insurance company and the contractor to work out their differences, because the contractor was basically trying to take advantage of how much they were charging, which was really sad. So
we had a client who called me in tears. She had a water claim, a pipe, her polybutylene pipe broke in her house, and it flooded her house. When she got home from work, she had about 3-4 inches of water throughout the entire house. She called me up. I sent over the person who I told her she should work with, and she believed the other contractor. So she worked with the other contractor. When she called me up, the claim had been over $90,000, and the contractor walked away because he billed what he billed for and what he received were two different things. And there was not enough money left to put back the kitchen and to finish her home because they overcharged so much on the remediation part and so much on the part, they couldn't finish the work. And that happens so often with AOB contracts because they're going to bill out as much as they can. And if there's not enough money left to finish it, guess who's stuck with it?
So I know that people can think of it as, I think the way that contractors pitch it is, look, we're going to handle the insurance company. You don't have to worry about it. It's going to be one less thing you have to do. We'll be in direct contact with the insurance company. And it sounds, at that point in time as a consumer and a homeowner, I'm like, whew, thank goodness I don't have to deal with the insurance company anymore. It can feel like a lifesaver, but in the end, it's actually hurting them because they're basically, like you said, releasing their rights to.
And like I said, originally that intention was good, but corruptness came in, greed came in, because they found out, well, I could get more, instead of I can get what the fair market says.
Yeah. So you said that now the contractors are trying to work around this new law and put in a statement called direct payment authorization. So are we kind of saying red flag to people if they see that in a contractor's contract, or they should just kind of proceed with caution, or what kind of?
Well, what happens now is anytime that someone signs a contract, they're supposed, the contractor is supposed to give a written estimate to the insurance carrier. And then the insurance carrier has the right to direct repair and say, no, we'll take care of the repairs ourselves. So there's some stuff that's in there, but they're constantly trying to figure out loopholes and ways around it. And, you know, there's other stuff that's in legislation in Florida right now, which didn't get passed. And hopefully next year, maybe they can deal with that. But we're trying to get premiums lower. I want lower premiums because I pay them too.
Very true. Me too. All right, John. So it's been a pleasure having you on here, and I want to wrap things up. I don't know if Leah is joined on. I don't know if she has any direct questions. Feel like if you do, go ahead and write them in the chat, Leah. And I'm checking on Facebook Live, and I don't see any comments there with questions right now. So if anybody comes up with questions as they're watching this video later on, how do they get in contact with you?
You can email our office. The email address is oviedo@brightway.com. Really simple. And that's BRIGHTWAY, Brightway. Oviedo@brightway.com. Or you could give our office a call at 407-706-6550. We're on Facebook, Instagram. We're kind of easy to find.
Good. Yes, you are. So thank you again, John. I really do appreciate your time and all of your knowledge, because I'm sure that this was super informative to some people. And I hope that they don't feel like insurance is overwhelming anymore when they listen to this, and they can feel like they have at least someone to lean on when they do have some questions. So thank you again. I hope you are staying
Thank you, Amber.
Yes, you're welcome. I hope you and Valerie are staying healthy and safe throughout this craziness that we have going on. And I will talk to you later and see you soon.
All right.
Bye.
Take care.